Hey, Abram, welcome back, mate. Episode number 2. We made it through episode number 1. So here we are, episode number 2. Now, this is post MVP Summit, mate. So you did a session, and from all reports, rave reviews from what I've been speaking, people I've been speaking to, mate. So tell me how MVP Summit was for you without
Yeah,
getting
well,
into
I
too much trouble, I guess. NDA and all that sort of
sure.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, I love the MVP Summit. It's local here in Seattle, so it's very easy for me to attend. So that's great. But more than that, it's a real chance to talk about the future and how we imagine our products to evolve and how we imagine the industry to evolve, and get real feedback from experts on our products and on the industry that really depend on these products to give us feedback about it.
Mm.
One of the things I really love is it gives us an excuse to think about, our multi-month, multi-year vision and strategy when we're often so busy in executing, this sprint and the features that are coming out right now, and there's lots of them. It gives us a chance to go look at what might be coming.
Yeah, and well, the sessions. I mean, obviously, I didn't. Well, I tuned in remotely, obviously. But the sessions, I certainly now don't kill me, but I haven't seen yours yet. It is on my watch later list. But look, the sessions that I've been, watching, or the ones that I attended live, they were really really good. And Microsoft does a really good job now of being able to cater for the remote people as well as in person, and the feedback seemed to be quite good. Obviously, Copilot was very big on the agenda, pretty much all over the place. But I mean, how did you find the feedback that was given, especially through your session?
Yeah. Well, in my sessions, we talked, about the features that are coming in the next few months, and then also how we imagine the products evolving in, semesters and years. And, this is it's a really fascinating space, right? So Microsoft as a platform and as a first party product, it's nothing new. That it's always a challenge, I think, for our partners, the ISVs, the solution integrators, to know what's coming and
Mm.
fit in and integrate with that. And we're in this whole new world now with the AI, and especially with agents, where the foundation models get more and more powerful constantly, and they take up new scenarios like some of those that we've been announcing lately. I'm sure there are, vendors that were making solutions like that
Mm.
already. And so that was a really interesting discussion I had with many of our partners is how do they fit in as the baseline functionality gets so much more powerful, and users can just type things in and then the software happens that they had built a few years ago. That's really interesting and something that I care deeply about. That's, like I told them, that's why I work in extensibility for Copilot, is because I think that the extensibility story is critical to where the
Mm.
industry, where the field, where the product is going.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, a couple of big agents, big announcements that came out during that time, or recently as well, during over that time. So I want to go to school a little bit. You can be the teacher. Tell me a little bit about these, because I haven't gone into to great detail yet. So be a bit of a learning curve as well. But researcher, analysts, tell me a bit about those. What's
That's
happening
right.
there?
Yeah. So we just announced both researcher and analyst. And I thought I was going to be able to announce them at the MVP Summit. But unfortunately, Jared Spatero and Satya scooped me on that one. But what I did get to do is talk about them in a lot more detail and our
Yeah.
plans for it. But these products are both extremely cool.
Mm.
So, researcher and analyst. Well, let's talk about researcher first.
Yeah.
So, OpenAI came out with their feature Deep Research a few months ago. And it was really a wake up call, I think, to a lot of professionals outside of software in the AI industry. college professors and marketers and legal partners and all of these other personas, because they spend so much time researching and producing briefs or 3 or 5 page documents. And deep research was so good at it, where um, so taking a few steps back, we have GitHub Copilot, which programmers really quickly adopted and recognized how much this is going to help them. We also had ChatGPT, which is, I think, a lot of end users, right? It's really helping them in like web search kinds of scenarios. So we have those two already. But the rest of the professional world hasn't gotten that much value, like in a big wake up call kind of way, until OpenAI's deep research. So it's an incredible product, and I think we're working on versions of this already ourselves, which is why we're able to announce so quickly. But Researcher in Microsoft 365 Copilot does do the same kinds of web data researching that deep research and other similar technologies do, but also includes all of your Microsoft 365 data, your Teams chats, your emails, your SharePoint data, and also all of your Graph Connector data, which we just announced another 25 Graph Connectors. I don't know, there's some dozens of the major enterprise SaaS now available. You can set them up, and now you can have deep research. You can have researcher capabilities over your enterprise data estate, which is incredibly powerful.
It is. I think that's missed on a lot of people, that the power of having your work, the work context. I mean, you've got your deep research in your other LLMs and all that sort of stuff, but having that ability over in your work context, I think. I'm not sure. Do you feel that a lot of people don't really get that? How powerful that is over your work data.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the way that these research products work is they will go make hundreds of API calls. They'll make a call and see, oh, what is this term? And it'll go make a call and learn that one. And that document will refer to another document, and it will go get that document. And it will nest several layers deep until it fully understands that topic. And then it'll move on to the next aspect of this overview that it's creating. The result, it might take several minutes, but it has made hundreds of queries. It's like opening up and reading hundreds of documents in largely the same way that a human would as they are researching something on the web or across their SharePoint data or whatever it is. But of course, it's much faster than that. 5 minutes, while it seems slow for software, is super fast for doing research yourself, which would take hours. So I use Researcher all of the time. And not just for producing 5-page documents. Sometimes I just use Researcher for finding a document that I know must exist somewhere. Because it's so good at navigating and moving through and discovering these things, and then giving it back to me and the link to it.
What impacts is this? You're going to open up a can of worms here, but what impact do you have on? What impact do you see this having on old school SharePoint information architecture and all of the amazing work that we've done in SharePoint to structure everything the right way with metadata and everything like that?
Sure.
What impact do you see? Is that going to become less important, do you think? Be careful.
In some ways, for knowledge discovery, I think it probably is going to be less important. One of the aspects of Researcher is just an incredibly good search tool. Like, that's one aspect of it. And the thing that's so exciting about it is like a new paradigm of interaction. So we had the original GitHub Copilot was autocomplete. Then ChatGPT added near real-time chat as an interface. We have this new thing now, which is set up a task and then go away for a while. It's a whole new way of working, and I think it's an entire new class of capability of language models and AI. And analyst fits in that same world.
Okay.
So researchers focused on gathering data and from unstructured places such as SharePoint and the rest of your enterprise data estate. Analyst is focused on your structured data, whether it's Excel documents or tables in external software, even a table in a PowerPoint slide on slide number 67 of a super long presentation, wherever it's tabular and structured. And what analysts can do is similar, go and find the right information, but also use code interpreter, right? Write Python code to process this data as necessary and understand what those useful insights are. But both of them are set up in this different way, where it's not autocomplete and it's not real-time chat. It's set up a task. It's going to take a reasonable amount of time. Would have taken a human a huge amount of time. The AI can get done quite quickly. And so I think it's a whole new pattern of working in this way. And that's what's really exciting about it.
Yeah, it's going to change. It's certainly going to change. Well, I guess go back to mindset changes and behavior changes and things like that. It is going to impact that 100%. And now, do you see there's any benefit to certain industries or verticals more than others? Do you think?
Oh, certainly certain roles. At different times in my career, I've been more in the data and less in the data, for instance. I love Excel. And I almost never get to open it anymore. Or when I do open it, it just got words in it, not any numbers. That's not exclusively true, but so often like it's useful as a table to like track status of work items or something like that. And no
You
longer
should be
doing
using a
like
Microsoft. You should be using a Microsoft list for that. Then you wouldn't even need Excel for
true,
anything, right?
true. Or Azure DevOps. The problem is I'd use all three of those plus a table and a PowerPoint slide, which is of course really useful for analysts. It'll go get all that tabular data. So I don't get to make those pivot tables and run ANOVA on statistical tests very often myself. And now that I have Analyst, I probably won't ever again go run statistical tests myself. I was terrible at statistics in high school and college. So uh, that's really exciting.
Yeah. So, and what's the extensibility story around those two? Are they extensible? And
Yeah. So, Researcher, as we talked about in the blog post, it can, well, first, like we already mentioned, this is your enterprise data estate, and so it can get your data from wherever it is in Microsoft 365, and that's connected in a graph connector. All of this is available across your entire data estate. The 50-ish or whatever number of graph connectors that we have now. But also, and this is maybe the neatest part. So it's my favorite part because it's my feature. Researcher can also get information from other agents.
right.
This is
See that?
cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we showed in the video Researcher talking to Sales Agent, which is from our friends in the Dynamics organization at Microsoft. And this is so cool. The way that it works is like a sub conversation opens up between researcher and sales agent. And researcher takes the place of the user in this language model conversation, and sales agent is still the assistant. Right? So to sales agent, it's still the user that's asking these things. But researcher realizes what information it needs in order to complete this report. And it has a conversation with sales agent in order to get that information. Uh, so this is true multi-agent that we are doing. That the industry has taken some steps towards, and there's many startups working on. But here we have real in production multi-agent systems, which I think is probably going to be the first thing that is done at scale in production. The first multi-agent system, I think, is going to be this one.
So
Yeah,
does that mean that? So you spoke just about the sales agent, but I'm assuming that can be. Well, you said multi-agent, so researcher can manage multiple agents.
yeah. So we are generalizing this capability for Researcher
Yeah.
to work with, pull in data, and have conversations with other agents. I think that's as far as we've publicly announced. We'll be talking soon about like in detail how this works. And I got to talk at the MVP Summit about how this works. But that is absolutely the idea. The agents that you have already working in Copilot can be a part of Researcher and include the instructions, their custom instructions, their own tools and APIs, their grounding, and all of these capabilities that we have of the AI agent technology in the industry can be added in here. So think of Researcher like as this scenario of producing these papers, and then bringing in your data, your expertise that you've codified, in your roles and your business processes as agents. You can all apply here. Um, I am
I
so
can
excited to
see,
get this out
yeah,
to
yeah.
everybody and see what happens.
I can see there's going to be job roles where people are just managing agents. That'll be a role in itself. Is just being skilled in managing an entire team of agents. I reckon it's going to be, yeah, insane.
Well, the way I think about it is everybody is going to be managing a team of agents. The way that I
Mm.
see this is I don't think it's exclusively an IT department role. Like certainly IT department is absolutely it's part of it,
Mm.
right? And they are producing some of the agents that apply for the whole organization, especially for external customers or very common processes and patterns. But I think every user is going to be creating these agents, these flows, these systems, and managing them in order to get their own work done and working on their behalf, right? So that their manager never pays attention to or realizes, which AI they've been using. And it's totally up to that user.
Do you, do you think it's going to get to that mainstream level though? So sort of, the general information worker is going to be able to sort of no code create their own little team of agents in that, in an easy way.
I think that is absolutely where we're going. If you look at some of the technologies, even like LangGraph, is available, industry technology. It's not that hard to use. I think that they've struggled a little bit in turning the crank from the making it easy enough to use and also robust enough to be customizable. But you see, I've seen a lot of progress in that already. Starting from some of the earlier things, like Lang Flow or
Mm.
Lang Chain through Lang Graph, and it increasingly, you see low code versions of this now fairly common. I think we are going to get there where any motivated information worker is going to be able to create and manage whole fleets or swarms of agents working on their behalf.
Mm. Well, I'm starting to see. I mean, you wrote an article time of this recording a few days ago now, but around the image generation, and I've been using the ChatGPT 4.0 image generation is insane. Um, that yeah, that's going to change. That's going to change everything. I mean, the API is not open yet, but once the API opens, it's just going to open the floodgates. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be mental.
It,
When are you building that? When's that coming in?
yeah, so I think that was a real wake up call. So there were
Mm.
previous transformer multimodal image generators, but only a couple, and they were pretty bad,
Yep.
frankly. They didn't work. OpenAI has really made it work in a way that
Mm.
other companies have not been able to. But now that everybody sees that it does and can work, we're already seeing brand new models coming out,
Yeah.
immediately since then. That are image generation models. There was just a new one yesterday, Alpha Lumina
Ah.
LLM or VLLM2 was just released this morning, I think. So the open source is going to catch up very
Mm.
fast. Now, will DeepSeek have an equivalent model within like 3 weeks? I don't know. But it's not going to take very long, and it's going to be common across all of our tools. Gemini will have it, Llama will have it, Mistral will have it, Copilot will have it. Absolutely.
Well, you mentioned, well, in a different conversation, you mentioned about this leapfrogging thing. So as soon as one happens, everything else will then sort of catch up and have their own sort of flavor on it as well. It's hard to keep up.
Well, it is. It is hard to keep up. It seems like it is one of my full-time jobs to stay on top of what the industry is doing with
But it all
the
becomes
latest of this. I'm sure it drives
all of
my
this
wife
stuff
bananas.
becomes becomes almost commoditized, doesn't it? Really, I mean, it just becomes easily accessible for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what's really interesting. So I've of course been playing with it as a user, right? I've been playing with the image generation models, since the original Doll E and Crayon made those really hideous faces in 2022. Through Stable Diffusion and the different versions there, and now Flux, and I've been playing with all of these, and I'm a mediocre user. And yeah, the Transformer version of this GPT-4o makes it so much more capable. Like it's instead of matching pixels to pixels, it's matching like concepts to pixels. And it has some
Yeah.
drawbacks. Like this isn't exclusively a good thing. In certain cases, like it will go ruin other parts of the image because it's not mapping pixels to pixels in this way.
Yeah.
I think that is going to get resolved. But what is new is you can ask a model like this to solve an equation on the chalkboard on this picture by generating a picture, or generate a video of somebody solving this equation on the chalkboard. And it will, to a limited extent. Like there in the model's latent space, it is solving problems somehow. And not by outputting reasoning tokens, but like in the latent space, which is really mind-boggling how it does that. But of course, that's why it's so good at turning images into Studio Ghibli versions of those images. If you look close, they're not matching pixels to pixels. And the Stable Diffusions were working that way, the diffusers matching pixels to pixels, and they did a bad job. Because it's not just changing the colors, you're also changing the shape of these things. In order to, like, you map the concepts of the original image into latent space and then map the concepts back into what Hideo Miyazaki would have turned into, if he had wanted to. I bet I got his name wrong. Don't write me about that. But this is Return on Intelligence. And turning images into Studio Ghibli versions is not that practical. I think
It's not, but I was watching a video yesterday about already, even since the this came out. I mean, being marketing in the marketing industry. I mean, people. I was watching a guy to grab some magazine ads and some online ads, and then pop it into ChatGPT, and then use the same ad, but change it for a specific other purpose. And it was production ready. It was unbelievable. And I just did. Even I was just playing around with it yesterday and just produced, a handful of infographics, and fed it the information I wanted to, and it created. It's unbelievable.
So it absolutely right. The commercials, the ads, magazine covers, and increasingly video generation, right? First cuts and presumably soon final cuts. The AI probably will be able to produce final cuts of video soon enough. But also, what I'm really interested in is how to apply this to the rest of our work. I don't produce magazine ads as part of my job. Or even, marketing infographics, as product manager. One thing that I've been playing around with is in the documents that I write. Now, of course, Word can have images and has always been able to have images, but we don't usually use them. Because it's so much work, and, it ends up, you go get a stock image or whatever, and no one cares. about what stock image you've decorated the document with because you're really interested in the content. So what I'm interested in exploring is producing images that, a lot like infographics, really uh, describe and help the document in a new way to help you understand it.
Yeah.
Just like the infographics you produce, right, are very useful for that context of sharing and talking to people. Um,
Mm.
is there? Can we turn our Word documents? Can we include the infographics instead of the 3-paragraph executive summary? Like, could we turn that into an infographic?
SharePoint. I think SharePoint. It's made for SharePoint content authors, right? So headers
Yeah,
and images and all of that sort of stuff. If that can be integrated into the flow, well, dare I say, flow of work, but when you're producing content, I mean, that would be, yeah. I
totally.
can see that. I can see that happening. Yeah.
One thing I was just
Yeah.
playing with earlier today is taking some of my PowerPoint slides and say stuff like, take the content of this slide
Mm.
and reproduce it, reproduce a slide in the style of Saturn devouring his own son by Goya, like one of the most terrifying classic art paintings.
Yeah.
And it did it, and it's so good. This is I wish I could show it to you, but this is a podcast. It is so good.
We
I'm
are video. We are video. You can share.
and, then I did another one in the style of Hieronymus Bosch, which is, if you don't know who that is, you should totally look up his art
Okay, you're
style.
going to have to get the images and send them to me, and we'll put them. We'll link to them.
Sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
unreal.
but something that I've recommended to folks previously, before we had this native image generation, is to produce a visual style for your content. Now, obviously, this is very important for like social media creators and authors, but I think increasingly is powerful inside organizations and enterprises to have
Mm-hmm.
a visual style and design language of the content that you produce. Now, I'm not as a designer, but I do produce a lot of content that I leave design out of it. I've got
Mm.
colleagues that pride themselves on using the base PowerPoint template, black text on white, single
Black text on
UI.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, and PowerPoint, of course, for a while has had these styles, and then you can modify the styles. And Designer has been really good, and I like Designer. But what you can do with AI now, with image generation built into Copilot, into AI, and the rest of your tools and workflows, is describe your style and then just apply it to all of it, everything,
Yeah.
to your PowerPoints, to your emails. I suppose I haven't gone that far yet. Um,
But how do you keep that consistent?
well, yeah, that's one of the things that is great about agents in Copilot, right? Is you can use them across these different canvases. I can use the same. I created one of my agents is technical blueprints at night, like neon technical blueprints at night, which is really neat style. And I
Right.
can use it in Word to produce, images for Word, and I can use it in PowerPoint. And I can now use it in Outlook, by the way. That was recently released. And the rest of these
So
canvases.
so that's an agent that's generating images for you
That's right.
with the image generation. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can take the content from the thing that I'm looking at, the PowerPoint or whatever, and turn it into this visual style that I
This
developed
visual.
once
Yeah.
and wrote down and put as agent instructions.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
so that's really now that particular one maybe is maybe not appropriate for all scenarios. So maybe I need something a little bit more muted. Pick like a color scheme. The good news is,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course, AI can help me pick a color scheme.
Can you feed? Well, that's interesting. So, in the instructions of an agent like that, then, which I haven't looked at yet, but could you feed it or give it the color palette and things like that in the instructions, and it would follow that? You think?
Yeah, totally would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure it will.
I'm going to do that as soon as I get off this call. I'm creating one.
Yeah, let me know. See if the Pantones or the RGB or the hex values or just the
Yeah.
common names work better.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be
Interesting.
interesting to try that.
Yeah, it would absolutely. Well, now that you can, well, inside of Word, what would be interesting inside of Word is using the agent, um, yeah, in Word.
Yep. When you're using an agent in Word, now when it returns an image, you can click on the insert
Yeah,
button and it immediately shoots
insert,
into Word.
and yeah,
So you
yeah,
don't even have to click
yeah,
copy and paste.
yeah, yeah. Very good. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to create an agent. Mate, thanks. Episode 2, done and dusted. Very
All
good.
right. Terrific talking to you as
Um,
always, Daniel.
as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, mate.
All right. Have a great day.